quality of your inner space.
What if allowing yourself to just exist is the answer to all your questions? And that all you're doing in the pursuit of the things that you chase, want and desire, while reaffirming to yourself that you do not have what it is that you want, is nothing more than craving and chasing your natural essence, which is safety, joy, bliss, love, existence in its purest form, and that you just forgot that you are already all of that, and that everything outside of that is nothing more than lies you've had to tell yourself to be able to play the game of life. That is why you are constantly searching for the truth, because the more you know the truth, the easier it becomes to discern a lie. There's no becoming, only remembering. Today, I will first go over a couple of realizations that I've had over the last months. If you have been feeling kind of off lately, behind, struggling to find your way, experiencing this sense of clarity with a lack of translation, almost as if you are in this chokehold of a rebirth that wants to emerge, you probably want to watch the whole video through. So let's get into it. So to first go into a little overview, I had to deal with a lot of stuff the last couple of months. A lot of stuff. All the balls that I had to keep in the air. I don't know if it's an English thing, but that's what we say. Ik had een hoop ballen hoog te houden. A lot of responsibilities. Keeping up with my business. Nowhere to go other than to just stay present with myself and take the opportunity to study myself deeper in the void. And at the same time feeling this pressure of having to keep showing up, even if it seemed impossible. So in the last couple of videos, I haven't been myself. I wasn't myself. But I choose to keep showing up regardless, because I've done a commitment to myself, but especially to you, who is consistently showing up to watch this video, even though this channel is still new, small. I see you, most definitely. I did not allow myself to not keep my word. Most people have no idea what I was going through. You can make this shit up. But it made me so much stronger. And maybe I will go deeper into this on another moment. But the point is that I choose to show up anyways. Raw, honest, vulnerable, unfiltered, unpolished. That is what it means to allow yourself to simply exist. And here we are. And it's funny because I created a video, I think it's literally called Unfiltered. There was so much going on in my mind, in everything that I had to move through. And I was like, okay, I have to do this video. It was last moment. Everything that possibly could go wrong went wrong. But I was like, okay, I gotta push through. I made this commitment, create this video. And it was raw, it was honest. But it was interesting because I never ever look at my analytics. It's the least of my concern. But this time, by accident, almost directly after I posted the video, I saw this tank in subscribers. Obviously, it's because the channel is still small. You see this pew dip. It was just one person. What are we even talking about? As you grow, it's going to get way worse. But it's not about that at all. It was just at the moment I was already under a lot of pressure. And I was like, yeah, of course, show me how unworthy I am for just existing. Of course not. Even then, we have to be able to reason, right? And not to make up stories out of fear for rejection, which is nothing more than a biological reaction. People don't always get it, and that's fine. But I'm here showing up through the good and the bad, the ups and the downs. There's nothing really to hide when it comes to the raw human emotion. We already see more than enough misinterpretations and highlights. Well, there are people going through serious stuff thinking that they are the only one because we care more about how we look than about how we actually feel. Everybody deals with life in their own ways, and that's okay. I understand that I'm not for everybody deeply. Even I sometimes look at my own stuff and like, whoa, intense. There's nothing much I can do about it, and I wouldn't want to. So bye. On this side of the internet, we don't run away from the ebbs and flows of life. We move through them with grace, with greater perspective, deeper inner knowing, and alchemize it into more strength, integration, and real embodiment. Which means just feel it. In the example that I just gave, feel it, acknowledge it. This is my body reacting to rejection. Reframe it. This is filtering out people that aren't meant to be on this journey with me, at least not for now. Move on. Just keep existing. So back to the story, everything that happened in the last couple of months felt like this last stroke to optimize, feeling completely safe in who I am and what I'm capable of. I am learning in even deeper ways that I am the only source of my own safety, my own rest, my peace, my inner knowing, my inner space.
The quality of your inner space determines the quality of your entire existence.
Which is the only place where I can meet myself in deeper ways. Getting closer to God, the Most High, deepen my trust in myself and life. And sometimes when you are in the midst of things, you cannot see where you are going. And that is where faith comes in. It's trusting in the unseen. It's the same as this story with the spider that gets relocated. So for example, you have a spider in your house and you don't want to kill it. So you take a jar and you are relocating the spider to a place that is safe. But from the spider's perspective, everything is chaotic. The whole world is upside down. It doesn't know where it goes. But it is for its own best interest, for its own safety. If you would be able to look at things more from this helicopter view, the experience becomes less chaotic. And I say that to say this. Sometimes when you are in the midst of things, it's very difficult to pinpoint things. But that's the point. Sometimes it's not about pinpointing. It is about having faith and trust in the unseen. That you have to go through certain processes and get out on the other side before you know why you had to go through them or grow through them. Sometimes it's about finding peace in not knowing, about allowing yourself to simply exist without having all the answers. And that is where letting go comes in. But how do we let go? We can't let go. Letting go is a result. A result of what? Of allowing yourself to just exist. Because if you are allowed to just exist, you don't have to hold on to things. If you allow yourself to not having to lean on your own understanding, you don't feel the need to hold on to things because you don't have to do it on your own. You don't have to do it on your own. When you realize, seeing with your real eyes, which is the heart, that there are forces working for you that you cannot always see. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Just as with the spider. While you are up there in that jar getting relocated, it wouldn't make sense to create more chaos in the jar, knowing that there are forces at play that are here to support you and guide you, relocate you for your own best interest. And the best thing that you can do when you are in that jar is just relax and have faith. This is kind of a personal piece, but I will keep it short. I did a meditation a couple of weeks ago to go into old timelines. And it was extremely interesting, and I will get back to the whole timeline thing later. But what was interesting is that I saw a couple of things, but most important, I saw my mother sitting across the table with her head in her hands, folding up. And she was fat. What is another word in English for not fat? It sounds so hard. Thick? Chubby? But it's not chubby. She was like bloated, fat. How do you say that? We have mollig, which is the same as chubby. We have zwaarlijvig, but I wouldn't want to be called zwaarlijvig. It's all. She was fat. She was bloated, and she was like folded up with her head in her hands, and she was sitting on the table. I get goosebumps when I talk about it. She was like, the reason that I find it important to say she was fat, because the fat was symbolic for everything that she was holding on to, for everything that she did not let go of. And she was hoarding it all inside of her. And this goes kind of deep, but she was my past self. She was my past self. I was her in my past life, in another timeline. And obviously we are all extensions of our parents, right? But this was different. I was her, and she basically showed me a possible timeline if I didn't let go of things. So she showed me my future if I would not let go of certain things. And I've already came a long way, but this was so telling. And it was more so about what happens if we keep holding on to things. We keep hoarding things inside of us simply because we do not allow ourselves to let go. To acknowledge that certain things that we are carrying along with us are creating unnecessary weight, and all we have to do is drop it. How? By allowing ourselves to simply exist. No ifs, ands, and buts. Just exist. By allowing ourselves to exist without all of the weight. That's it. And I don't want to go much deeper into that story right now because it's deep. And I've been called to be more grounded also within my work and guiding others is extremely important to bring all the things that we think we know, learn on a daily basis, back to earth. To simply exist in the now. But I was asking myself, when are we allowed to just exist? We have been programmed to think that we are just these little powerless human beings without any control over how we perceive life. But that's not true. We are powerful, magical beings that project our own reality based on what we believe and perceive it to be. Which means we can also change it with changing the way we perceive things. So the answer was, you are already allowed to exist. But you don't see it because you are too busy with punching the air. Now I must say, the things that I had to deal with were no joke. No joke. But at the same time, they were needed to reveal all the leaks that were still there, where I was letting fear holding me back from the realization of my own power. Very, very, very interesting. And I was a little fed up with God. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, why? But it had to happen. And I will never ever doubt again. Ever. Okay, never ever again is maybe a little optimistic, because doubt is functional, and I will get back on that later. But all I really want to say is stop underestimating your own power. Stop seeing yourself as someone that is powerless, behind, lost, confused, a failure. Stop telling yourself those things from today. They are nothing more than stories. And even though you have made decisions that you're not proud of, you have made mistakes in the past that are now catching up, just allow yourself to learn from it. Instead of seeing things as failure or seeing yourself as a failure, just see it as data that you can now use to optimize your life experience. That's it. You are just existing. Can you? All you have to do is allowing yourself to move through life, the ups and the downs, meeting yourself at deeper layers of remembrance of who you really are. That's all that is. This whole game of life exists because we forget. Without forgetting, there's no remembering. So how can you blame yourself for not knowing what you now know to be true? I'm waiting.
Remember
I'm waiting.
who you are. Inner space is your key.
What if you would look at yourself in a complete different way? That even when I mess up, even if I'm not perfect, even when I'm falling back into old patterns, instead of being a complete hard ass on myself, saying no matter what, I am still deserving of everything that my heart desires. I can deeply love myself and at the same time be aware of the fact that there are ways to grow. So what? So what? That's why I'm here. The soul wants to experience itself. It wants to go on this journey of experience and discovery. And not all experience is going to be fun. Babies feel like they are dying when they are getting born. Very few things ever grow without experiencing a form of discomfort. Can you still hold yourself in the dark when you don't have all the answers? When you have disappointed yourself? And say, yes, I want to higher the standards that I have for myself. so I can experience a better quality of life. But I also know that the quality will only get better when I do that from a place of love for myself, for my existence, for my experience, for me not knowing yet. We want to have things because the soul naturally craves experience. There's nothing wrong with having desires or wanting things. The problem is in feeling incomplete without them because you are already complete, you are already everything and every potential. The only question is, really, what are you going to do with it? Which experience are you going to create for yourself? No matter the circumstances, no matter the experience that you've already had. Worrying is living in the future. To feel guilt or shame, regret is living in the past. Nothing is testing you, nothing is against you, nothing is judging you, except you. You are just constantly meeting yourself in different forms. You are playing a game you choose to experience, and there would be no experience if you would already know the outcome. Therefore, the experience must be designed through temporary forgetting. All there is now. All you have to do is know who you are, know why you're here, so you can understand your desires and the things that you want. Because you have to know that you really want them, that it's your own desire that you're after, and not just some desire that you have picked up due to programming, conditioning. Knowing the truth of who you are, of who you really are, not just as a concept, but as lived reality. Every person is coded, not metaphorically, literally. Your mission is specific, your energy is unique, and it wants to express itself just the way it is. So every time you feel a heart-led desire, just follow that. That idea that you have been procrastinating on, bring it to life. Your inner creative that has been calling you forward. Listen to it. That business idea that you have been pushing away, go create it. Not everything has to be art. Just have to allow yourself to exist and create. And existing and creating has nothing to do with forcing things or trying to course correct, but more so with stop correcting what is already there, what already wants to be expressed. To let the things that want to move through you move. See, a lot of people think we need more things to get to our desires or the things that we want to experience. But more than often, we need less. Less of what? Less of blocking the things that are already there. We need more stuff. We need more ways of being. We need new habits. Wouldn't you first want to fix the leak before you fill the bucket? Maybe it helps to acknowledge that it's not all in your hands. It's our egos that have great difficulties with accepting that. But free will only exists within a certain scope, and therefore it's not fully free. You think you have more choice than you actually do. That is why most people suffer, because they don't get with the program. Which program? Well, not the one that they have been ramming down your throat since the day you were born, the one that tries to disconnect you from the self, but the one that works for you, the one that lets you exist and express yourself exactly as you are. That is why it matters to be aware of it. Is the program that you are currently running getting in the way of your soul's desire? Your actual design? As long as you are not in congruence with it and you don't know who you really are, no amount of strategy, no amount of searching, no amount of forcing will fix the gap between who you are being, showing up to be, and who you actually are. No amount of therapy heals it. No amount of understanding changes it. Only alignment with your own inner knowing. The cost of not knowing: decades of forcing yourself into things that are not for you. And for a lot of people, decades of wondering why success or finally getting to your desired outcome still feels empty. Decades of rotating through solutions that have worked for others but not for you. The benefit of knowing yourself deeply is that you stop wasting time. You don't need anything else. Quantum leap, manifestation, blah blah blah. It's all a distraction. Quantum jumping is nothing more than your own ability to make the old story of who you are or who you're supposed to be completely irrelevant. It is in your ability to leave the old timeline behind. And the only thing that keeps you stuck in an old timeline or in a version of now where you remain the same is holding on to an old identity, which is no more than the way that you see yourself, which then translates in how you decide to live your life. All there is now. So who do you choose to be now? That's really the only question. You are not some stuck, rooted tree that cannot move. You can move. Your energy can move. You can be renewed. You can change the course of your life anytime you want. Just listen to what you need. Sometimes you need something that you don't want to admit to yourself. Sometimes you need support. Just listen to what you need. Because often we are so zoomed in on our own lives that you have all these corners that hold important data that we sometimes cannot reach on our own. Well, it's such important data to nurture and enhance the quality of our inner space.
The quality of your inner space determines the quality of your entire existence.
And that inner space is the seed of all that you are manifesting. And you are always manifesting. It's not something you put on or off. It is a constant co-creation with your creator, where the reality, the story that you experience, becomes visible and alive based on which thoughts are lighted up consistently. Which thoughts are lightened up consistently. Manifestation is nothing more than the translation of a thought into a thing. A thought into a thing. What? A thought into a thing. Something showing up as an actual experience in your life. The thing is that experiencing things in the physical is not the only way to experience the feeling that you think you will get when you get that thing that you want. Something outside of you can validate you, make you feel less like a failure, make you feel more seen, happy, But the experience itself, the feeling, is created from within. So that means you have the power to generate that feeling without needing something from the outside to change.
Remember who you are. Inner space is your key.
I'll just leave it at that for now. But start there. Skip the rest. The distraction. All you need to do to force yourself into chasing a feeling or an outcome. Manipulating reality. Just go inside, where you can actually command it. Start creating a life from your actual design, from the truth of who you are. That's it.
Remember who you are. Inner space is your key.
For quite some while, I have been observing this whole explosion online about manifestation, doing spells, all kind of hacks and tricks to get to your desired reality. But this is where it becomes tricky. If you obsess over these kind of things, you will reinforce opposite thinking and remind yourself that you do not have what you want. Well, you already have everything you need. And it's only from the realization that you already have everything that you will get more. That is why I always say I want less, and that is why more wants me. You already have everything you need, but you don't even have the time to acknowledge that because you are busy punching the air, ignoring your own inner power, creating this perpetuating cycle of an experience where you are being this unfulfilled, hungry ghost.
Calling emptiness dry, feeding a hungry ghost, and forgetting how to feel at home inside our own life.
I got interrupted. But if you want to change the way you experience your current reality, you have to stop looking at the reality for proof that it has changed. Because reality renders based on your belief. So it doesn't make sense. Go within. And then I don't mean go so deep within that you lose yourself in loneliness. That's not what I mean. What I mean is learn how to hold yourself. Learn how to hold yourself to the ebbs and flows of life. And to come out not only stronger, wiser, sharper, but also feeling closer to the divine being that you are. You are complete just because you exist. And you are on a journey. You are just on a journey of discovering all layers of your passion, excitement, and existence to remember who you really are. You don't need outside confirmation to know who you are. Don't doubt yourself. And I know that is easier said than done. So if any doubt comes up, remind yourself of the fact that it's no more than an echo of an old story, an experience that you do not want to experience anymore. And that is exactly why we hear the voice of doubt, but we don't listen to it. And every time that it comes up, just see it as an opportunity to deny the old story and create a new one. Now go on and release yourself from the endless pressure and allow yourself to just exist for once. Because maybe this whole thing that we call life isn't about finding or adding more, but more about peeling off everything that isn't you, until the truest essence of your being stands so strong that you never have to question its right to just exist ever again. That's it for now. Honor your inner space and carry yourself with grace.
The quality of your inner space determines the quality of your entire existence. Embodiment is a rental paid with the current of integrated inner truth and awareness.